If you're working as a health, fitness, or wellness professional, it's important to understand that the sympathetic nervous system has the ability to become a little bit dominant in some of your clients. And that can create imbalances and problems in the body as far as symptoms that can come about and even health factors that can become problematic because of this imbalance. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand how this imbalance can come about and some simple self-tests that you can have clients run to get an idea if they may be pushing too far on this sympathetic side, along with some steps you can take to help them correct these issues. Let's jump in.
T.C. Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Now, the autonomic nervous system runs a lot of the operations behind the curtain. Like, we don't have to think about breathing or our heart beating, they just kind of do that. So there's two sides to this autonomic nervous system. There's the parasympathetic side, which is our rest and digest side. And then there's this sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight state. And both of these sides of the autonomic nervous system are appropriate. The body uses both of them as needed. The problem is some people can get stuck in one of these states all the time or push too far into one of these states too often. Like if someone's stuck in the parasympathetic state most of the time, we often see things like seasonal allergies or even asthma. And if someone's stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight state, a lot of the times we'll see things like elevated blood pressure and even a short temper, or maybe someone flies off the handle a little bit too easily. But again, both of these states are beneficial when used properly. So if the body is presented with a stress, like maybe you have to run away from a lion, then the body will move into this sympathetic fight or flight state, and it'll basically change the way that the body is operating to prioritize your survival. So the body can do things like constrict the vascular system to maybe raise your blood pressure and help nutrients to get places faster to help the body function a little bit better. It can change the way that glucose is produced. It can help the body make more glucose to provide your body with an immediate fuel source that it can use for this emergency. It can also raise body temperature to help the body function at a higher level. So it's changing the way the body functions in an effort to help you survive this emergency or this stress situation. So this is all by design, and this is all beneficial for the body in a stress situation. But what if a person is stressed all the time and they're in this fight or flight state all the time? Then blood pressure could be elevated all the time and stressing a body that way. The body could be creating more glucose all the time, which can lead to insulin resistance issues and high blood sugar problems. So if a person is stuck in this fight or flight state all the time, it can create a lot of symptoms that can be problematic, but it can also elevate some health markers like blood pressure and blood sugar. So some other possible markers that might let you know that your client might be leaning too far on the sympathetic side could be a large pupil size, like the black color in the eye could be taking up a larger percentage of that colored area. That can be a sympathetic marker. Or high stress reaction. Maybe the person just kind of flies off the handle really easily. Maybe they're yelling at the mailman because they don't like the shorts that they're wearing. And again, none of these markers are diagnostic or anything like that, but if you see a lot of these markers with the client, then it might confirm your thought that, oh, maybe they are leaning too far on this sympathetic side. But what we really want to do is help a client look at their body chemistry, look at their unique bio-individuality and get an idea of if they're having an imbalance that way. So we can look at a client's blood pressure, and if we take that systolic number, which is the top number, and subtract the diastolic number, then that gives us what's called a pulse pressure. So if a client had a blood pressure of 120/80, you would subtract 80 from 120, and the pulse pressure would be 40. So any pulse pressure greater than 46 is an indication that the client is leaning too far on this sympathetic side. Now you can take this a step further and do another test. You can also look at the client's breath rate. So you can just have a client relax and just take a timer out for a 1-minute stopwatch or something and just count the number of breaths that the client has in that minute. So you just want to count the inhales. Don't count inhale as 1 and exhale as 2. You just want to count the inhales. And if a client has fewer than 12 breaths in that 60-second period, then that can be an indication that the bloodstream is leaning a little bit too far on the alkaline side, and that can create oxygen utilization issues and can stress the body out and push that body into a little bit of a fight or flight state. Now, what we can do is we can take this into a further formula to even confirm this imbalance, we can take that pulse pressure that we got from subtracting the systolic from the diastolic, and then we can divide that by the breath rate. So if a client's breath rate is 10 and their pulse pressure was 40, you would divide that and the resultant would be 4. So any resultant greater than 3 is a strong indication that the client is leaning too far on this sympathetic side. Again, these are not diagnostic, but we're just starting to put the puzzle together to get a picture of how the client's body is operating and what their body chemistry is doing. Now, if the client does appear to be leaning too far on this sympathetic side, then you can take steps to reduce the stress that the body is dealing with. So is the client, do they have a lot of stress in their life? Is their boss a jerk? Do we need to get them a new boss? Or do we need to find other ways to reduce the stress in their life? Or is their life okay? They don't have stress in their life, but maybe they have stress in the body. Maybe there's a high blood sugar issue or a high blood pressure problem that's creating stress in the body. Maybe there's not enough resources. Maybe the client's blood pressure is very low, indicating that there's not enough resources for the body to function the way that it wants to function. So if you look at a client's blood pressure and that systolic number is below 112, that's a really strong indication that there's not enough resources for the body to function, and that's going to stress the body out. Maybe a low breath rate is saying that the blood is leaning too alkaline, creating an oxygen utilization issue. Maybe there's some type of infection that the person is dealing with. And infections can go undiagnosed for years or decades and can create a lot of stress in the body. So you really have to become a little bit of a detective when you see a client is leaning too far on this sympathetic side and see what steps can we take to reduce the stress in their life or the stress in their body. Now, if you want to learn more about this sympathetic state, my book, Health Pro Results, has an entire section going over it in the appendix. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'm going to put a link in the description below where you can get the whole book for free. And that'll walk you through understanding this sympathetic imbalance a little deeper and also other self-tests and other ways to look at clients' body chemistry to get an idea of where things might be going wrong and steps you can take to help them balance out the body and help it function the way that it wants to function. For now, if you think the client might be dealing with liver issues where liver performance isn't functioning and stressing out the body, check out our video on 4 steps to help a client revive a liver. I can't wait to hear about your results.